नमस्ते। आज मैं एक बुक की कुछ स्क्रिप्ट पढ़कर आपको सुनाता हूँ। फिर उस व्यक्ति के बारे में और उन सब के बारे में थोड़ा डिस्कशन करेंगे। सरोज कुमार परिडा। India had prevailed in the war, but the peace talks that followed had claimed its prime minister. Lal Bahadur Shastri had died in saddle, having succumbed to heart attack in his sleep in the Soviet city of Tashkent, where he traveled to negotiate a Soviet brokered peace settlement with President Ayub Khan of Pakistan after Indo-Pak War of 1965. Less than 22 months after the death of its Prime Minister, India found itself orphaned yet again. Although it had been free for only 19 years, India had faced and was facing an inexplorable barrage of challenges. These threatened its sovereignty and territorial integrity, as with the invasion of Kashmir in 1947 and subsequent wars with China and Pakistan. To say nothing of domestic insurgency, as in Nagaland and Mizo Hills, which were off in arms against the Indian state. Our economy too was in shambles, beleaguered by the rigors of war, failing monsoons, recurrent droughts, dwindling foreign exchange reserves, and plummeting industrial production and exports. Exacerbating this woes were the decline in agricultural output, which had triggered deliberating food crisis. Against the backdrop, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi assumed office, drawing into her hands the reason of the failing nation. The economy had to be resurrected, yes, but more important, the teeming millions of India had to be paid and delivered from the depredation of hunger. That is when curtains of destiny parted and outstrode the stage of history of Munakambu Srinivas Swaminathan, M.A. Swaminathan. History often remembers those who wins wars, but rarely those who harvests. Until the decisive victory over Pakistan in Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971, the threat of war constantly loomed over India, vitiating the nation building endeavor, depriving use of crucial national resources and funds. But even as we run into the war, not of our own making, another war was waged within India. This one is in the furrows of our field, in those challenging years after independence, when India's soil yielded more desperation than grain. The memory of Bengal famine still haunted our founding fathers and mothers, especially in 60s, when failure of the consecutive monsoons and widespread drought cast a pall of gloom on the national mood. The man, his mind afire with science, heart assuaged with the humanity, planted the seed of salvation. Striving to liberate India from the tyranny of hunger, the man, Dr. M. A. Swaminathan, the scholarly, the unassuming revolutionary, who, in his own gentle way, turned the page on the script of hunger, insufficient agricultural produce, inefficient farming practices. In doing so, he helped secure India's sovereignty more surely than thousand guns and tanks mold. This is the story of the unsung hero. Born in 7th August 1925, 2 दिन में उनकी जन्मदिन in the temple town of Kukumba in Madras Presidency, now Tamil Nadu. Swaminathan was raised in a household where service to humanity was both practice and principle. He was first drawn in parts at his parents' behest to medicine. But the famine of 1943, which molded Bengali countryside in the height of Second World War, causing untold misery of millions, tormented his precious young mind, spurred him to action. Convinced that no medical treatment could cure a country dying of starvation, and firmly of the belief that freeing a country from hunger was the first step towards ensuring public health, Swaminathan turned from the scalpel to soil. a product very much of his time, cast in the Nehruvian mold that held up secularism and scientific temper of the drivers of the India's growth and development. Swaminathan came to believe that the foremost task of science was to serve humanity and therefore better the lives of India's countless downtrodden souls. After beating the circuitous academic path which took him to Trivandrum, to Madras, to New Delhi, hence to the Netherlands, hence to the United Kingdom, United States of America, the intrepid Swaminathan returned India in early 1954, having turned down the offer of a faculty position at the University of Wisconsin, armed with a degree in zoology and agricultural sciences, alongside advanced training and specialization in genetics and plant breeding. Swaminathan returned to India with a singular mission to ensure that Indians would never again have to bear the indignity of standing in queues for conditional diplomacy of foreign powers. In 1960s, the mission became the driving force of his life. India, ravaged by the war and drought, was tottering on the edge of a precipice, with the grain imports from the United States trickling in the like favors from the reluctant benefactors, and India said to be living in the contemplative phrase, ship to mouth. Our sovereignty, especially in the realm of food security, had been held hostage to global geopolitics and was to the mercy of the American. So dire and humiliating is our situation that Mrs. Gandhi made her first visit to United States as the Prime Minister. American newspaper greeted her with the Churlish headline as a new Indian leader come begging. At such moment of national despondence, the idea of food security was not a technocratic abstraction. It was a matter of national honor. Swaminathan, collaborating with American agronomist Norman Borlaug to import high-yielding variety HIV of wheat from Mexico, adapt them to the Indian condition. But father of India's Green Revolution was no mere technocrat. He understood that seed alone were not enough. He demanded thorough reform. He is pushing for a rehold of agricultural ecosystem. Agricultural ecosystem includes irrigation, fertilizer use, farmer education, institutional credit, and above all, political will. This will come, of course, from Mrs. Gandhi. Swaminathan briefed her on the potential of HIVs. She, realizing that our food security hinged on the success of this seed, threw full weight of her administration behind the Green Revolution. The result was nothing short of miraculous. In the decade between 1965 to 75, India's wheat production more than doubled. Punjab became the granary of the nation. Warehouse that lays empty, forlorn, now brimmed with surplus. The same country that depended on foreign handouts became within a decade self-sufficient in food cereals. Yet Swaminathan never claimed triumph for himself. He regarded, as we have seen, science as a moral imperative, not as a means of self-exaltation. His vision extended beyond yield per hectare. He was a prophet of sustainability long before it became buzzword of the 21st century. From championing greater participation of women in agriculture to espousing ecological balance, from advancing researches in rice genetics to promoting sustainable coastal farming, from advocating for tribal food security to establishing gene banks for endangered crops, his canvas was vast, his brush was precise, generous, humane, embodying the best and noblest of the India he was born into and shaped by. Swaminathan was also an unrelenting champion of ethical science. Far from being the zenith of his dreams for India, the Green Revolution was merely the beginning. What he envisaged was an evergreen revolution. Not green revolution, my friend, it is evergreen revolution. One that would not only sustain agricultural productivity but also enable farming to withstand the mounting pressure of climate change, nourish a growing global population without eroding the ecological foundations of our life. To that end, he championed the cause of smallholder farmers, especially women. Never ceased to believe in the power of science to foster socio-economic justice. Science that uplifts marginalized, empowers cultivators with knowledge and resources, and places dignity at the heart of development. His was a holistic vision of agriculture, one rooted in the conservation of biodiversity, the protection of natural resources, the promotion of environmentally sustainable practices. It was his vision that gave birth to M.S. Swaminathan Research Foundation in 1988, which he led with unwavering devotion until he drew his last breath. Though he worked to forge strategies for economic growth that would simply trickle down but rise from the soil of generating employment, enhancing livelihood, giving voice and agency to rural poor. For Swaminathan, then science, divorced from social purpose, was not merely incomplete, it was immoral. M.S. Swaminathan didn't wield a sword, command an army, govern a province, led a political struggle. Yet, few in modern India has secured its future as he did. He understood the freedom without food is hollow, and that true nationhood lies not only in the tricolor fluttering high in public holidays like Independence Day or Republic Day, but in the dignity of farmer with full granary, living a life of evidence, happiness. The dream may yet to be unrealized, with millions of our farmers still languishing in destitution, plugged by such structural ill as inefficient farmer methods, in antiquated agricultural tool. But to reflect on the remarkable life and times of Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, his lifelong crusade to secure for our farmers a life of dignity and decency, the very promise of the Constitution of India is to be galvanized into action, whereupon we must recommit ourselves to his vision of India, labor to realize it. If Jawaharlal Nehru helmed India's democratic and scientific institution, paving the way for our tryst with republicanism and reindustrialization, if Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel afforded India its territorial unity and integrity, then Dr. M.A. Swaminathan gave us something equally vital: food security as a pillar of national sovereignty. His legacy ought to be measured not only in the swelling granaries of one starving nation, but in the triumphs